It's time for me to review this product right here, the TRS Slider. Inspired and designed by Robert Rock, one of the game's greatest swingers of the golf club, this training aid is seemingly all the rage right now if my Instagram feed is anything to go by. But is it actually any good? Well, I've had this product in my possession now for a few months and I've been testing it both on my own swing as well as that of my students. And I want to share with you my experience of using this product, the potential benefits it has, the golfers who I think it could help, and some things you may want to look out for if you were considering whether or not to pick one up. So let me start by clarifying exactly what this training aid is designed to do. For those of you out there who maybe have not heard of this training aid or perhaps haven't seen it online yet either. This training aid is designed to help with the movement of the trail arm throughout the golf swing, which is an area a lot of golfers struggle with. So I think it has a large appeal from that point of view. It works by placing this large band around the golfer's torso, just clipping together at the front here. And then there's a second strap here, which the trail arm would go through. So if I put my right arm through this strap and tighten it, I've now got two bands on me. I've got one round my torso and one round my arm. And as the name suggests, the TRS Slider is designed so that it keeps the arm attachment close to the body, but it allows the arm to slide or move around the body, which is a good movement in the golf swing. We don't really want this arm getting too detached from the body, but we also don't want it to stay fixed in front of the body as we swing as well. If the arm didn't move around the body, the hand path would be too vertical. This allows the arm and the hands to move around the golfer as per a good golf swing. So from that perspective, it has a lot of potential benefits. In fact, I think it really helps to control the swing direction of most golfers. And if I was to bucket people into two main categories, I'd say the people watching this video either swing too much to the left, and that would be out to in as a right-handed golfer. So golfers who would swing too much across the ball, and that would put you into the bucket of pulling the ball and slicing the ball. Or you swing too much to the right. That might be described as having a path that's excessively in to out, and that would put you into the bucket of pushing balls and also hooking balls. So this training aid is really designed to help neutralize and straighten out swing directions, and I think for the vast majority of golfers that's a positive thing. But just before I get into exactly how to wear the training aid and use the training aid as part of your practice, I want to expand a little bit further on that discussion about swing path or geometry of the swing and draw your attention to this diagram on the ground. For many of you, you will have seen this down on the ground before. This is the stack and tilt grid, and it's built using the T-Claw product. And most of you who've seen my videos would be somewhat familiar with that diagram and have an idea of what it's supposed to represent. And just for those of you who haven't seen this before, the outside lines here, this one right here, is representative of the club head's path around my body, meaning we play golf on a tilted angle. So this club head of mine doesn't swing straight back like so, it swings back in an arc on a tilted angle. And equally, this line here represents my hands and how they would also move in an arc. That's important for you to just grasp the concept of that. That's extremely basic, but it's also necessary for you to understand. That's basic golf swing geometry. And as I mentioned briefly, most golfers fall into the bucket of being either too far above these lines, lifting their arms and swinging across the ball, or being too far below these lines, too far underneath, and swinging too shallow and too far to the right. So conforming to this geometry is something that good players do. It gives a sense of ball striking consistency, it allows golfers to hit the ball far, and there's an enormous element of shot directional control built into this diagram here. So it stands to reason that you would want to try to move your hands and club around you on the correct arc. I want to add one further string to the stack and tilt grid, which many of you won't have actually seen before. I'm going to place this one down here next to the hand path line on the back side of the arc, just for visual purposes, because I want you to think about how this diagram, which is flat and placed down on the floor, is giving me some guidance for the arc of the club head and the hands as I start the backswing, but the standard grid as I build it on the ground here always finishes at this point. And that's really stopping when the club and the arms are sort of parallel to the ground in the backswing. This additional line that I've just placed on the ground is to try and help you see how my hands go back on an arc to this point, and then they continue going back on more of an arc behind me. They continue working around me. They don't swing back to this halfway point and then decide to start swinging up and lifting off my body. That would be a mistake that so many of you make, the golfers who fall into that bucket of swinging too steep and out to in. You would have your hand path not moving around you sufficiently for long enough, and you would start finding that your hands would work too vertically. So I added this additional string here for you to have a sense as you stand over the ball that the hands start working around you in the early part of the backswing, but they also need to keep moving around you in the second half of the backswing. And that's something that this training aid really helps you to do. Okay, so hopefully you're following along with the logic of what this device is designed to help with. And if you do go ahead and get one of these, I'd tell you to start out placing it onto your body and then making quite a number of small practice swings before you even start to hit the ball. I'm starting out with just a pitching wedge here, making some small swings, and something that I think you will certainly get a sense of is the restrictive nature of this product. That's to be embraced in a way. It is restrictive by design. It is supposed to reduce the pathways open to you in terms of where your hands and club can go in this diagram. And that's because a lot of golfers will choose pathways that are open to them because it's just more comfortable to swing that way, or it feels more powerful to swing that way, but it's actually far less accurate and far less efficient to do it that way. So remember, the restrictive nature of this is by design. It's supposed to force you into a position and help you understand where you can go just as much as where you can't go. So that's something I think would be fairly common as you put this on and try to make a few swings. Before we even start swinging, I'm going to make the point as well that I love how this training aid really helps to keep the trail arm nice and close to the body, even at setup. I can't tell you the number of players and number of golfers I've worked with who set up to the golf ball and have the trail arm too straight in the setup, where the trail arm is too high and above the lead arm here. I'd want to see it much more tucked in and close to the body. That's something you're going to get when you start practicing with this training aid. It's going to help you to do that. So I'm a fan of that part of it for sure. Setting up to the ball and feeling like I really have to keep this trail arm flexed and tucked in. Those of you that have ever watched the videos I've made on the aiming the arms and the ones on the hammer curl drill will be familiar with that trail arm position that I'm trying to get you to achieve. If you haven't seen those videos, I'm going to link those at the end. So benefit number one would be, let's set up with the trail arm in the right place. And then benefit number two, as mentioned already, is really just the ability to keep moving the hands and the club on this concentric circle arc around your body. As I mentioned, this will be quite restrictive for some of you. So we'd start out with pitching wedges, we'd start out with small swings, and we just go ahead and start clipping a few out there. It really does give me a sense of control, and even in my swing, which I wouldn't consider to be too far off track, it really helps me to tighten up my swing plane in a way that I don't think I'd be able to do if I was just trying to do it by myself. So again, I'm embracing that restrictive nature and that restrictive feeling that the swing guide here has, the TRS Slider. You'll notice that was only a small swing. It's a pitching wedge. That ball only carried 100 yards. This isn't really designed as a training aid to help you swing as fast or as hard as you can. It's designed to help you keep the club on the correct arc, which again, so many of you would benefit from. That being said, you can start to speed up the swing once you've done that a few times. Begin to pick up the carry distance. That one went 112. Like I said, this is a pitching wedge. And I could quite easily get up to something that resembles full distance with this club fairly quickly. But the message there is really explore the feelings with this as you put it onto your body. Make practice swings getting familiar with how it feels before you introduce the ball. And when you do introduce the ball, start out with these small wedge swings and then gradually start to build yourself up. And while I think the primary marketing of this product has been towards the golfer who slices, reducing how much those hands and arms lift in the backswing, as I've already referenced, this device can also help golfers who suffer with the other type of shot, the golfer who swings too far to the right or too much in to out. And that's because the slider device helps the arms and the club to keep moving around the golfer in the follow through. I want to explain something to you here again using the stack and tilt grid. We've got these two lines on the front side of the swing, the follow through effectively. And what I see a lot of golfers struggling with who swing too far to the right would be a club as it comes down that goes too far off the grid in this direction. And accompanying that club head would be an arm that gets detached from the body through impact and into the follow through. That typically is associated with golfers who swing quite fast and who struggle to control the forces of a fast swing. The club just gets thrown off their body with the forces, but with that comes a path that goes too far to the right, and very often a club face that gets rolled over excessively. So they push to the right, and then they hit these big hooks, and they find it very, very hard to control. The fix for that is keeping the club head and the hands tracing the grid. So as you hit the ball, rather than the head and the hands going out this way and the arm getting detached from the body, you'd see the club head and the hands working around the arc, conforming to the grid and conforming to that geometry. Again, that's what this band is very good at doing. This slider device is not going to allow your right arm to get thrown off your body. So as I place my arm back into the training aid, I'm going to make a few practice swings. This time I've moved up to my 7-iron, and now I'm swinging my hands more around me in the follow through. For me, this is really where this has helped my game, because I've spoken before in previous videos about my tendency to fall into that bucket of swinging too far to the right and being prone to pushing and hooking. As I say, most golfers fall into one of those two buckets. You're either swinging too steep and across the ball, or you're too shallow and too far from the inside. That would certainly be my pattern. So this device doesn't help me so much on the backswing. My backswing's pretty tight in here, my arm's in a good spot, but it really helps me on the follow through. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit one of those, this time with a longer club. I've moved up to a 7-iron, keeping the arm nice and close to me, and feeling like my exit is a little bit more around my body. I still had a club path there that was in to out, but the device helps me to mitigate swinging too far to the right, a problem that, as I say, has been a perpetual challenge for me in my golf. So whether you're a hooker or a slicer, this device certainly will have some benefits to your swing. And I just want to conclude the video by explaining to you what happens once you take the device back off, because ultimately you're not going to be able to play with that thing strapped to your arm. So what can you do as you practice and as you use the device that becomes a meaningful transfer when you take the strap off and you go ahead and hit a normal shot? I would say that there's really two key areas that you want to try to focus on, and maybe one more than the other depending on your problem. If you fall into that bucket of being a slicer and you're the golfer whose hand path typically lifts and raises too far up into the sky, paying attention to where your hands are at the top of the backswing will be an extremely valuable way for you to use this device. I'm going to make an assumption, but a fairly educated assumption, that many of you who wear this device and make it to the top of the backswing will be absolutely astounded about how far in and around your hands actually feel. The club and the hands will be far more around your body, and the hands will be in a much lower position than you are likely ever have been before. So that's firstly something to recognize and pay attention to, recognizing how far in and around you your hands need to go. And then it's learning that feeling as you use the device, so much so that when you take the device off, you could still be familiar with where that position is in space. Because ultimately this is about guiding your limbs into the correct position in space. We don't want to take the strap off and then all of a sudden be lifting the arms again and be right back to square one. So pay attention to that position at the top of the swing, particularly if you fall into the bucket of being a slicer. For those of you out there, however, who have the opposite problem, a bit like me, the hookers out there who swing too far to the right, paying attention to the finish position of your hands and arms in the swing could be extremely valuable. I'll tell you that that's exactly what I think about when I swing. And just as I mentioned that the slicers will probably be surprised just how far in and around and low their hands are in the backswing, I would tell you, those of you wearing this strap and swinging around correctly in the follow through, conforming to the grid, will likely be very surprised about how low and how far around you your hands need to be in the finish. So if you can focus on the top of the backswing position as one of your checkpoints, and then the end of your swing as the second checkpoint, I think that's going to help glue a lot of things together here. One of the ways I try to describe this to my students is I say, let the mechanics produce, let the training aid give you the correct mechanics to produce the outcome that we want. So let the mechanics produce, but let the feel reproduce, meaning you learn the feeling of correct mechanics whilst wearing the strap, and then you reproduce those mechanics without the strap based on your feel. Ultimately, we are all feel golfers. These devices are designed to help, as mentioned before, narrow the pathways available to you. If you don't have anything guiding you, your hands and clubs could theoretically go anywhere, and in many cases, they often do, leading to a whole host of chaotic outcomes. So controlling the forces, moving the hands and the limbs around the body correctly, conforming to the grid, and staying on track will help you with all three of the key skills. It'll improve your ball striking, it'll help you to hit the ball further than you are at the moment, and undoubtedly it will help you to control the curve of your golf ball much, much more. Thank you for watching the video today. I think the potential benefits of this product are quite wide felt across a number of different types of golfers. As I mentioned, whether you swing too much across the ball or too much from in to out, the potential benefits of this aid are there for you to see. A couple of things I would say though, I've tried this with a lot of different students. Some have had some outstanding results with this extremely quickly. It's helped in a matter of a few swings. Other people, however, have struggled to get used to the restrictive nature of this product, and I think that's something you have to bear in mind. As I mentioned earlier, the restrictive nature of this product is by design, but if you don't want to control your swing and have better outcome on your shots, this device is going to feel quite restrictive and you may push back and not enjoy it so much. One other thing I wanted to mention was that the more recent versions of this strap have some sticky dots on the inside of them which really help to keep the strap attached to you. One of the things I found with the original version of this product was that it would slide around and move quite a lot and fall down after almost every shot. That became quite frustrating. They've made an improvement there. So if this was something maybe you tried out before and didn't like it, they have been making some improvements to the device. If you'd like to learn more about this, you can go onto the website. I'm going to put a link down in the description below. And there's also a discount code should you choose to check one of these out. Don't forget, you can get this in two different sizes. This is the large size that I'm using. There's also a smaller size, which is very applicable to juniors and lady golfers. And I've certainly had some junior students use this to good effect. So if you want to learn more about this product, there's a link in the description. Go ahead, click it, and check it out for yourself. If you found the video valuable today, I'd love you to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And I'd also like you to get down in the comments if you're either a current owner of a TRS slider using it in your practice or somebody who makes a purchase off the back of this video. Get down in the comments and let me and everybody else know what you think of this product. Has it helped your game? Have you noticed any limitations? I'd love to read those comments and I'm sure other people would too. And if you're looking to build a more consistent golf swing, a more reliable, repeatable golf swing using a step-by-step systematic approach that I use in every single lesson that I teach, go and check out my tour quality ball striking video series. This is 16 videos over an hour of content where I walk you through exactly how to build a more repeatable, more reliable swing. I'll leave a link for that in the description and that'll also be in the comments as well. Today's video focused on the movement of the trail arm. The training aid itself is designed to help the movement of this trail arm throughout the golf swing. I mentioned how important that is, and I've made videos on this topic in the past. If you haven't watched this one yet, I'd highly encourage you to check it out next. It talks about a really simple concept where you can understand how the upper arm and lower arm need to be positioned to really enhance your swing using something as simple as the concept of a bicep curl.